Okay, let's just dive right in to a really fascinating puzzle. What really makes people tick? It's a question that stumps pretty much everyone, from managers and policymakers to, well, even ourselves most days. You know that feeling, right? You're trying to get your team, maybe a family member, or even just yourself to do something, and it honestly feels like you're pushing a giant boulder up a hill. We think we know what should work, but a lot of the time we're just spinning our wheels. So why is it so hard? Well, this is a big part of the answer. The stuff we usually reach for, the common sense motivators like a bigger salary or the threat of punishment, they often just miss the point. It turns out the things that really drive us are these deeper, hidden psychological forces. Things like a powerful need for things to be fair, a genuine belief that our hard work will actually pay off, and just feeling respected and like what we do has some kind of meaning. So to really get a handle on this, experts have come up with some incredible frameworks. You can think of them as keys for unlocking the code of human motivation. And trust me, they go way beyond simple carrots and sticks. One of the most powerful keys is something called equity theory. And at its core, it's pretty simple. We are absolutely hardwired to care about fairness. It's like we all have this little subconscious calculator running in our heads 24/7. And it's constantly asking, is what I'm putting in, my effort, my time, equal to what I'm getting out, like my salary or recognition? And crucially, how does that ratio compare to the person sitting next to me? The second we feel like that calculation is off, that there's an imbalance, boom, our motivation can just fall off a cliff. This quote right here is a perfect example. This is the kind of thought that absolutely kills morale. Because it's not just about missing out on the promotion, it feels fundamentally unfair. It's that feeling of injustice that does the real damage. Okay, then you've got expectancy theory. Think of this one like a 3-link chain. For you to be motivated, all 3 links have to be strong. Link number 1, you have to believe that if you try hard, you can actually succeed. Link number 2, you have to believe that if you succeed, you'll actually get a reward. And link number 3, and this one is a biggie, you have to actually want the reward they're offering. If any single one of those links breaks, the whole chain falls apart and motivation vanishes. And look, these are just a couple of the tools in the toolbox. There are so many others. From the classics you probably heard of, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the idea you can't worry about personal growth if you're worried about having a roof over your head, all the way to theories from evolutionary psychology that look at our most basic primal drives. So, that's the theory. But let's see how all this stuff actually plays out on the front lines. We're going to look at a couple of case studies from the world of healthcare, where the stakes are quite literally life and death. So I want you to imagine this scenario. A hospital is trying to do the right thing. They've rolled out all these new safety procedures to protect patients, but for some reason, they're just not sticking. Nobody's following them, and the risk of something going wrong is still dangerously high. So what's going on? Are the doctors and nurses just being careless? Well, research from other high-stakes industries like mining tells us it's almost never about bad intentions. It's usually about a broken system. Communication is terrible, management and staff aren't on the same team, and the people on the front lines feel like they have zero say in the rules they're supposed to follow. And the solution isn't more rules. It's a fundamental culture shift. You have to move from that before column, where orders come from the top and everyone's looking for someone to blame, to the after column. And that means opening up communication, actively involving the staff in their own safety. And most importantly, moving from finger pointing to taking joint responsibility for fixing what's broken. This same idea, making the consequences clear, applies when you're trying to motivate doctors too. One hospital got so frustrated with physicians not doing their paperwork that they created this simple tiered system. First, you get a warning letter. Keep it up, you temporarily lose privileges. Still don't comply, you lose them for good. It's expectancy theory in action. The link between your behavior and the outcome is crystal clear. Okay, so all these frameworks seem to work pretty well for a team inside a hospital. But what happens when you need to scale up, like way up? How on earth do you figure out the motivations and beliefs of an entire country? The obvious answer, of course, is public opinion polling. You just ask people what they think. Simple, right? Well, as any pollster will tell you, it is far more complicated than it looks. Take something called the shy voter effect. Research has shown that when you ask about sensitive topics, like who someone is voting for, the very way you ask the question can completely change the answer you get. Someone might be much more willing to admit they support a controversial candidate in a totally anonymous online poll than when they're talking to a real live human being on the phone. And this leads to a massive, dizzying question for researchers. If different methods give you different answers, which one is the truth? Which number actually reflects what people really think? So here's the crucial point. Survey researchers are basically navigating a measurement maze. They know that every tiny little detail, how a question is worded, whether the survey is on a phone or a computer, can have huge effects on the final results. Let's use a really complex issue, like abortion, as an example. If you just ask, should it be legal? Yes or no? Think about what you're doing. You're forcing millions of people who have very nuanced, conflicted, and deeply personal views on the topic into one of two little boxes. It's a blunt instrument, and you lose all the detail. But watch what happens when you just offer more response options. Instead of yes or no, you give people a scale like this. Suddenly, all of their true, nuanced opinions can come to the surface. A much more complex, and you've got to argue, more accurate picture starts to emerge. You can finally see all the shades of gray. And this is not just an academic exercise. When researchers were trying to predict a very real-world behavior, like who would get a COVID-19 vaccine, one study found that the single biggest predictor wasn't a person's age or where they lived. It was something psychological, their level of trust in the vaccine's safety. How you measure that trust is everything. And the list of these complications just goes on and on. Doesn't matter if you use a web, mail, or phone survey. Yep. Does the personality of the person answering the questions matter? You bet. Even how mentally tiring a question is can change how people answer and reduce the quality of the data you get. It is a minefield. So if there's one big thing you should take away from all of this, it's that really understanding human behavior requires two things. First, you need a solid grasp of the theory, the psychological why behind what we do. And second, you need a deep, and I mean humble, respect for just how difficult it is to actually measure it all. The how we figure out what people are thinking. Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. If our tools for measuring what people believe are so sensitive, if the answers we get depend so heavily on the questions we ask, then how much of what we think we know about each other is really just a reflection of the questions we've decided to ask in the first place?